you started the foundation when you were 6 years old. What happened?
My parents really embraced this giving spirit in me and said, if you want to do this, we'll help you start a nonprofit.
Nonprofit entrepreneurship is harder than traditional entrepreneurship. Some of the biggest challenges of the past few years.
Sales, marketing, engaging with customers or donors, it all overlaps.
What's kind of allowed you to keep expanding?
Making it easy, keep it simple.
Do you have any story that stands out that you like to tell from either a child or a family perspective?
We had most recently a teenage girl on Long Island reach out to us last year, and she said, I was suicidal and I got this gift bag. I'm better now, and it directly helped me build relationships back with my mom. I use it in my therapies, and now I want to give back.
What problem does the foundation solve?
So it's really serving any
What's up, you guys? Welcome to another episode of the Elliott Caldwell Podcast on Successful DNA. We have a treat today. I am with my friend Ray Mohler, founder of the Little Saint Nick Foundation. Ray, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah, man. So let's get started. I want to get a good hook here. You started the foundation when you were 6 years old. What happened? Tell us the story.
Yeah. So when I was 4 years old, woke up one morning, had pain in my hips, and just couldn't walk randomly. So my parents took me to the local Children's Hospital in New York, where it was super traumatic. No idea what was wrong with me. Nothing to do while I was there. So at the end of the day, found that I had a rare hip joint disease. And for 2 years, I had to wear a brace like this for 12 hours a day and can only walk, but made a full recovery and was able to do so from home. So when my parents told me that kids had to stay in the hospital for days or months or years, I just couldn't fathom that even as a 4-year-old. So my birthday's Christmas Eve, hence the name Little Saint Nick. And I decided to give my birthday gifts and Christmas gifts back to the hospital I was in when I turned 5. And it was just such a great feeling. I told my parents, I want to do this again. I want to keep giving. And the following holiday season, not only gave my own gifts again, but asked friends and family for toy donations and gave 3 times the amount. And my parents really embraced this giving spirit in me and said, if you want to do this, we'll help you start a nonprofit. So that's how a 6-year-old started a nonprofit.
That's awesome. And then from a KPI perspective, what's the good KPI you use to explain the growth from, how old are you now?
28.
So from 22 years ago, what's a good KPI to use from the last 22 years ago to now?
Well, to start this year, we hit 3 million children served. So
that's awesome.
We kind of did what we could over the years as a family with my vision of what I would want in these different situations. So it was all about me giving, and we kind of were limited to one fundraiser a year, one toy drive a year, and just did special events in a limited capacity. But when I got down to the University of Tampa in 2016, I had no idea what I wanted to do and really had no idea what the future held. Was on a Nickelodeon documentary called The Halo Effect that are all over the world. And all of a sudden others were reaching out to say, hey, I want to do what you do. And I saw on the show. And it was really the first time we said, what if we not only help children, but teach children and adults that no matter where you are, how old you are, you can make a difference in your local community like I did since I was 6. And now it went from just helping kids to inspiring kids, and our impact really started to multiply out from there. And now every one of our gift bag program impacts at least 6 people, and you multiply that out times 18,000 gift bags last year. It's a big ripple effect from New York to Florida to across North America now.
In 2025, how much money did y'all raise?
About $500,000.
That's awesome. What's your goals for this year?
Very big. Yeah. We have some pretty big opportunities with some people that we're attracting into our circle of saying, hey, if we can really blow this out of the water from bringing in millions of dollars, we can keep our overhead really low and really have a big impact on our programming. So that's the focus for 2026.
So you fit the prerequisite by going to University of Tampa. You're from New York or New Jersey, and that's one of the 2 prerequisites. But so what was the transition like from, obviously in the early days of it being just you, then you're going to college, I'm assuming, had multiple ideas in your head of what you wanted to do in college and after college. What was the transition from, okay, this is going to be a full-time thing versus being a hobby that I enjoy?
Yeah, like I mentioned, when I got down to the University of Tampa, kind of have an open mind. I knew I wanted to do something in the business realm. I was into sports, so I was thinking maybe sports management. But that Halo Effect documentary I was on aired right when I graduated high school. And what happened was, as soon as I got down to the University of Tampa, a 12-year-old boy reached out to us and said, I saw this show when I was in the hospital with a broken leg, and I want to do every single thing I saw. and he was in St. Louis, Missouri.
I'm not familiar with the Halo. What was that?
So Nick Cannon produced a documentary on Nickelodeon and basically highlighted 10 kids from across the U.S. They each had their own episode of doing some sort of act of kindness in their community. I was the only one with an actual foundation on it. So it was a platform that a lot of kids started reaching out. And this one in particular really wanted to do everything. He was all in. So I said, this could be cool. So immediately I spent my freshman semester mentoring this 12-year-old on Zoom of how to do a toy drive, how to talk to hospitals, how to get people involved in a school. And we went out there right before Thanksgiving break, and this one kid inspired 100 kids to give back, and they helped thousands without really any resources from us other than the knowledge of it. Yeah. So we said, this could be something we can take everywhere. And I came home for the holidays and I said, Mom and Dad, we're taking this across the country and around the world. And it's been,
that was 2016?
Yep.
And then any contact with that young child since then?
Yes and no. It wasn't the right timing for him to really take on that leadership role as a 12-year-old, and there was a lot on his mom. But I know he's grown up to do great things in leadership capacities at universities and started his own clubs and giving back. And, that's really the message that we preach. Our mission is very simple and easy for people to volunteer. We have even 2-year-olds volunteering. And it's about take that with you the rest of your life. And whether you're giving back through Little St. Nick or something else you're passionate about, you can make a difference in your community.
And then from listening to you and then just from looking on the website and some of the social media stuff, your parents have been very involved, obviously supporting this vision from a young age. What has that meant and what role have they played?
They were the backbone for many years. They still are heavily involved. And, they were entrepreneurs of their own, running an HVAC business for 35 plus years. So taught me a lot of things. They, are supporters of financially or of any capacity over the years as I was growing up, came from them. And, the general business sense, the school of hard knocks, if you will, as well. They went through it and, really taught me a lot of what I know.
So, whether it was at what point, in between 2016 and now, did you realize like, okay, this is legit. We have something here. Let's go all in on this.
Yeah. After that event, I said, I want to take this everywhere, but I didn't know how to do it. Yeah. So then we went back to New York, and one of our supporters there served on a lot of different boards. And he said, you need to get a formal board, an office space, and a business plan together. So I went back to the University of Tampa. No idea how to really approach that. Took a general business class, and there was this dapper guy talking about business all over the world and all of his journey as an entrepreneur. I said, he might be able to help write a business plan. So I set up a meeting with him and told him my story and the vision of kids helping kids and everything. And he started crying, and he said, this is my first semester teaching here. I live in Washington, D.C. I commute on the weekends. I have no idea why I chose the University of Tampa, but I do now, and it's to help you. So 6 months later, had a board of 15 people, office space, business plan complete. And we said, we sat there at our first board meeting in June, looked around, said, all right, well, now what?
What year was this?
Mid 2017.
Okay.
So then really said, all right, what are the main things we did over the years in New York, and then what's duplicatable, right? Some of the big hospital toy parties or days of giving we did with thousands of items that are going to be a lot of logistics for a kid to do, maybe not as feasible as our gift bag program, where kids can tangibly volunteer at an assembly line, make inspiration cards, things like that. So we said, let's try to bring some elements down to the University of Tampa and in Florida while I'm here and see what works and what doesn't work. So we actually had an event in 2018 at the University of Tampa campus, got connected with the student government and said, hey, we want to pack 1,000 of our gift bags. We have a hospital to give them to, and we just really want to make it a big community event. And student government said, you just bring the supplies and we'll take care of everything else. And I'm like, all right, I don't know these people from a hole in the wall, but they said they can get people there and get food and everything. And we had 300 students show up in the first hour. Wow. And that was another moment like, all right, if we can get college kids here and then donating as well their time and for raffles and things like that, we really could be onto something with this. And then really submersed myself in the entrepreneurship program at UT, which sort of implemented all those different business practices and mindset to running a nonprofit, which I was kind of the first one in their 15 years of the program. Oh, wow. So a lot of the entrepreneurs up there were like, what do you mean you're a nonprofit? What does that mean? Why are you up here? And it was like, it's everything you got to do, but harder. Yeah. Because I got more regulations to follow.
Yeah. For someone, a listener that has never heard of the Little St. Nick Foundation, you've went into it a little bit, but like what problem does the foundation solve?
Yeah, it's twofold now. So it's really serving any children in crisis from hospitals, mental health facilities, foster care, having that immediate relief of anxiety when they enter those scary situations, while also inspiring people to do the giving. So all of our giving across the US and Canada is done by local groups, businesses, schools, families that want to tangibly give back. Maybe within an hour radius, we pair them up with a place they want to give to. And it's a special localized level of giving. And especially if we can engage more children, kids really relate to each other on that different level than a parent or an adult to a child. So that's our main focus today, and it's every day of the year.
Do you have any relationship with the A Door of Hope Foundation?
No.
I'll connect you with, his name's Godly. They're a foster care foundation. Oh, cool. I know they're always, nice. Everybody's looking for help outside of that.
We're always looking to collaborate. So
what, like these longer hospital stays, like without the obvious, what are some of the like psychological factors that play into the kids?
Yeah, I mean, it's totally different from mental health facilities, behavioral health facilities, to even a sibling staying around a McDonald house while their brother or sister's in the hospital. And, our programming all comes down to mental health, right? We're empowering kids to have a better mindset of growing up to be future leaders while also taking away that anxiety. Some of the mental health facilities we give to, there's kids young as 5 years old and they're in there at least 2 weeks. So for them to have specific items that they can use in their therapies and to comfort them while they're going throughout their recovery process or their journey really means a lot. Or even some kids that maybe are outpatients, but they have cancer and they need to go for 12, 16 months. But every time they go, they know they're getting this awesome uplifting gift bag. It really just provides that one less thing to worry about, makes the doctors and nurses' jobs easier to have a patient in a better mindset. The parents have a calmer situation, and it really takes over the whole hospital environment. So it's a cool ripple effect. In the past,
10 years or so, do you have any like story that stands out that you like to tell from either a child or a family perspective?
I have a lot of stories. We had most recently a teenage girl on Long Island reach out to us last year, and she said, I was suicidal and I was in this mental health hospital and I got this gift bag and I still have it. I'm better now, and it directly helped me build relationships back with my mom. I use it in my therapies, and now I want to give back. And she's helped do multiple fundraisers and volunteer events with us. And, we probably only hear from less than 1% of our gift bag recipients, and we've given out over 150,000 of them in the last 13 years. So, but the ones we do hear from makes you realize, wow, what other stories are we not hearing about?
Yeah.
The ones that are saying, hey, I want to really dive into this. And that's the beauty of it, right? We hope to have that full circle experience where kids can receive our programming, utilize it to get better, utilize it for the mental health benefits. And then once they are better, say, hey, I want to bring this, into my community and dive hands on. So.
And you mentioned it earlier where nonprofit entrepreneurship is, harder than traditional entrepreneurship. Like what's been some of the biggest challenges the past few years for you?
Yeah, well, just like a for-profit needing sales, fundraising is the name of the game at the end of the day.
Yeah.
We still have bills to pay, and you're also trying to carry out the program and go the programming, and it's a fine line of balance. And, hey, some years you have more generous people and people are in better spots than other years and grants and all those different things. So that's the main base level of the game. You have a board of directors to answer to. That's the quote unquote owners. Yeah, I'm a nonprofit entrepreneur, but the board of directors is the decision-making power. And, also realizing that everyone that we're dealing with to help us, we're third on their list, right? First is their families, then it's their own personal careers, then it's their giving back. So how do we walk that fine line of keeping them engaged, but not pushing them too much, to having them be involved how they want to be involved? And everyone's different on that whole spectrum. So we always preach, hey, everyone can help in their own way. Whatever they're comfortable with doing, we'll push them on that. We'll guide them in that direction to have them feel good while giving. And great, it all adds up to the bigger piece of the pie.
And then many nonprofits struggle to scale. What's kind of allowed you to keep expanding?
Making it easy. Keep it simple. I mean, we had 100 events last year that we were probably only at 10 of them. And goes to our simple programming. It goes to our simple way of relaying messages to volunteers, our simple way of implementing our program into different facilities and making it engaging and fun for people, saying, hey, here's everything you could do with Little Saint Nick. We'll make it all happen for you. You want to do the whole kit and caboodle? You want to do a version of that? And then all of a sudden it grows. Oh, I want to bring this to my Girl Scout troop. I want to bring this to my husband's business. And then that goes from 100 events in a year to 200 and sort of has this ripple effect. So keeping it simple.
That makes sense. And then like someone who's listening that wants to start a nonprofit today, like what more or less do people when they start a nonprofit, do they like get wrong the most?
There's just a lot of different, just like any in just business in general, there's a lot of different ways you can go.
Yeah.
And you just got to start, with the most simple baseline of it all. I know a lot of people that are trying to start ones or ones that are even students that have ideas of them. And you just looking back at my journey of it, great. Start with that business plan, start with recruiting supporters, and then figure out how to make this simple and easy for people. And there'll be a lot of trial and error and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But, take it slow to start, because I know a lot of people have a lot of ideas, and that's great. And those things will eventually come to fruition, but you got to build it up gradually.
I think I've thought about it before, and not just from a nonprofit perspective, but any type of business perspective, like the level of effort a business takes, whether it's nonprofit or, for profit, I think is more or less overwhelming to some people. Like if I'm going to start a nonprofit today, like you better believe I'm putting out, 100 hours of content a week, spending 100 hours, every 2 weeks on creating content. That's where, if I were to start today, that's where I would start. Mm-hmm. Where it's not just, all right, I have a nonprofit. Who wants to give me money? It's just be so hard. What's been your biggest, more or less, success on fundraising? What's up, you guys? I wanted to introduce to you our done-for-you Airbnb investing service called BNB Turnkey that has massive tax implications. It's basically an investing service that allows you to invest in cash-flowing Airbnbs and not do any of the work. It's best explained in 3 phases. Number 1, we find, analyze, and underwrite the property. In phase 2, we handle all the interior design and construction. And then phase 3, we manage the property on the back end. The best part is most of our clients qualify for the short terminal loophole of the IRS tax code. This allows for average clients to write off over $200,000 in depreciation on their tax bill. For more information, click the link in the description to connect with our team. As always, thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of the episode.
There's a lot of different ways to fundraise. Events are great, but they're a lot of work, which we're starting to focus on. Hey, if we're going to have events, let's make it that different clientele of higher net worth donors where we can really raise a lot of money and have a lot of impact. Different sort of ways of putting forth grants or sponsorship opportunities. There's a lot of money out there from for-profits or other foundations, nonprofits navigating, hey, what aligns best with us? What successes did we have? Then great, let's go down that path. Great, we got from this credit union, let's hit up another credit union that has a similar, verbiage or vibe to them than this one, and really portraying that message of, hey, here's what we would do with X amount of dollars, and here's the impact that we're going to have. So there's a lot of different ways to go about it, and it's managing our time versus what the return's going to be.
So I have a for-profit business and you have a nonprofit business. What are some of the struggles and similarities that we share?
Every key component about running a business is exactly the same. Yeah. When I was in the University of Tampa after I graduated, we were in a cohort, and it was 15 different businesses in the Tampa area that all just had some sort of product or service. And everyone had a totally different thing, from restaurants to marketing to you name it, it was there. And we would have these different meetings on different subjects, and everyone would relate to it, whether it's sales, marketing, engaging with customers or donors. It all overlaps. So, having
any payroll yet, or just you?
2 others.
Okay.
2 others.
What do they do?
My team of 3. One does all of our marketing, impact, organizing all of our events. Other one, more operation, strategical approach. And we do have a lot of really good supporters, though. So we have our board. We have a board down here in Florida. We have a board in the Northeast, and really call on certain people to help fill in the gaps for things. And we do what we can. We do have a new volunteer now, too, that you put out a good vibe and things just work out for you in life. We had someone leave our organization in New York, and we kind of had a void to fill. And she said, I don't need to work anymore, and I want to volunteer full-time to run the New York operation. So we're blessed.
And are you more focused on Long Island and Tampa, or are you trying to branch this in other areas too?
Those are our 2 big giving areas naturally, because I'm from there and I live down here now. But last year, I think we had events in 13 states and 3 provinces in Canada.
Okay.
So really, it could be anywhere at any time.
Well, how did the Canada provinces come up. That's random.
Yeah, we launched Little St. Nick Canada in 2023. We started getting a lot of donations from different marketing campaigns we were doing, and had a group of students at Queen's University, Ontario, really get behind it and launch their own Little St. Nick chapter there. So we have a few of those across the country, universities where they're basically Little St. Nick on their campus and in their community, and run it like their own business through us, which is kind of cool.
I think it's interesting how you've been doing this essentially your whole life, and that's a long time. I've been doing our business 3 years, and sometimes I feel like, man, I'm just absolutely drained. How have you stayed so engaged and, with such fire the past 20 years or so?
Yeah, it's what I'm meant to do. That's the passion of it. And that's what I tell anyone, whether you're starting a nonprofit or a for-profit, if you don't have that fire in the beginning or that passion about doing something, I don't care if it's marketing, media, hedge fund, whatever it is, you have to have that why and that purpose of, hey, yeah, we're doing this, but it's to help people. It's to do X, Y, or Z. And that's what, gets me up in the morning. And that's, to me, the only way that you're going to be successful is starting out, at least. Mm-hmm. If it's already an established company, you're stepping in as a CEO, it's a little different than, hey, we're bootstrapping it and making this happen.
Random question. In the world we live in today, every question I see for asking people like me is how AI is affecting the workplace. How is AI affecting your organization and nonprofits?
Definitely helps, especially when submitting for funding or trying to portray a message to certain people, being able to repurpose our content, whether it be digitally or verbiage to submit for things. We're able to get things done a lot quicker. So definitely helps with that, social media, things like that. So no negative effects for us that I've seen or heard. And it's kind of been that way across the industry. I do feel like a lot of nonprofits are sort of like behind 10, 15 years where like a lot of them aren't using it unless it's like maybe like tech nonprofits. So we're really trying to utilize every resource we can.
It's funny. We're doing a lot now with AI. And so out of the 700-800 properties we manage, I was talking to our CFO out of all people that we need to develop an app, iOS, Android app, so potential guests can go on there just like you would a Marriott app or just like you would a Hilton app and be able to book a property. And he's like the Claude AI chat wizard. And we had a meeting today for like 30 minutes. And then before the meeting, I talked to him about it. And then afterwards, he's like, hey, I got it like 50% built of just using AI to build an app.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy. Like he's not even software focused person. But he's done a lot of it with our accounting team, being able to reconcile credit card statements, or bank statements that would normally take days can be done in a matter of minutes. Yeah. So that could be interesting too as you grow, being able to use it for accounting and use it for apps as well.
Yeah, we do. We actually use a board management software, which is like the only one in the kind in the nonprofit industry to really manage our board, our advisory boards, and kind of have a home-based layer. And there's an app for that too. So, I tell our supporters, hey, you're on this board and committee, and guess what? Everything can be right in your fingertips on an app. So we're always trying to make it easy to integrate with AI for our supporters.
Have you ever thought about like if resources were unlimited, like what you could build for children in hospitals?
I mean, we could impact every child in the world at that rate, because it's so simple. It's so easy from the volunteer side to the giving side of it. We can impact limitless, literally. And that's why we're really trying to do a push to raise, millions and millions of dollars, because it's all going to go to the programming once we cover our expenses.
Do you know the stat out there? Maybe you do. I don't know, it's a random stat, but like how many children are affected in the US from a long-term hospitalized stay?
I know a few years ago, in terms of children being admitted to the hospital, was like 120 million annually. That mostly children's hospitals and things like that. So, but yeah, it's
in
a lot.
In the US?
In the US.
Golly.
And other people don't even think about the siblings, or, hey, a child's going to visit their parent or their grandparent. We have one hospital we give to on Long Island. They say, hey, we're going to see 40 kids this month. Those are just the patients. And there's going to be another 60 kids in the waiting room. Yeah. And they're having the same anxiety. So we're going to give to them too. So that's really the simple beauty of our programming, where we can keep things generic, items, coloring books, crayons, Pop-It toys, stuffed animals, stress balls, decks of playing cards, and inspiration cards to really make it universal to any kid in this anxiety situations. And we customize them for different populations, but keeping it simple is the key.
I never thought about how impactful that is on siblings. Like, I have a 6-year-old boy and a 4-year-old boy, and then when one of them gets hurt, the other one's just like distraught, like trying to check, because they're best friends, right? So they're checking on them, and like, so I can imagine, like, if there's a, one of them has cancer or something, siblings, like how impactful that is. And sometimes they might get like overlooked, which is understandable, given the situation. Did you notice that early on, or was that something that you had to learn as you went on?
We kind of thought about it later on once we, started focusing on the gift bag program as our sole main programming. Said, well, who can we really give this to? We can get, great, we gave it to just children in hospital beds over the years, but what other groups can we give to? Because it has the same anxiety principles. And we started giving to a lot of different Ronald McDonald houses across the country, and the whole family staying there. Mm-hmm. So we try to provide a stuffed animal on every bed for each family as they come and have that comfort, or do different things to say, we recognize what you're going through too. And, what happens is usually we'll start giving to a facility. It'll start with one unit, and then they'll say, oh, we need this here. Oh, can we give it to the siblings? And, the healthcare workers that are interacting with the patients, the top thing we hear is, this makes my job easier, because they're dealing with people in a better mindset.
I can only imagine some of the stories you have of like how impactful these kids have changed your outlook on life. Like, what are the 1 or 2 things that a kid has taught you from an outlook on life?
Yeah, we've had some tough stories of children that we've lost who have received our programming, and their, parents have supported us and really have dove in saying, I want to give back in honor of them. And those are ones that really just hit you like, wow, I'm lucky that I wasn't in these life-threatening situations. I had a rare hip joint disease, and I'm all cured now. Some of these kids are fighting for their lives as, 1, 2-year-olds. To know that we're there for them is, really reinforces our why every day now.
I think it's hard where, no matter what it is in life, where if it's like something serious like that, and, we make this promise to ourselves, like, hey, I want to live every day, to the fullest. Then 3 or 4 days go by, and we're back to our normal selves. Or the opposite end of that, where, we're in college and we have a night out and we go too hard in the paint. We're like, okay, I'm never doing that again. Then 2 or 3 days go by. But then, I can only imagine the impact it makes when you just see constant life-altering situations. Has it changed your outlook on life from obviously you mentioned it. That's probably part of the fuel of the fire that you have going on. Yeah.
Another part of the fuel of the fire is the volunteer side. When I always encourage myself or my team, or we try to put it out to our supporters to, go attend a volunteer event or host one with your own group, because you see the magic of the kids really getting involved. And that's really cool. We just did an event last month with elementary school here in Tampa, and these 6 second-grade classes all competed in fundraise, second graders, putting this on their parents and, to fundraise. They raised over $3,000 in a few weeks. And we went there, and each class got to pack their own gift bags, and we made a Valentine's Day theme. And one kid came running up to and goes, oh, my brother's in Johns Hopkins. He's battling cancer. I really hope he gets one of these. And, that you realize that, maybe these kids are young. They don't understand the full capacity of what they're doing, but they get it. Like you said, a 4 and a 6-year-old, when one of them are in trouble, the other one's realizing, hey, something's wrong here. I want to help. So embracing that goodness in kids at a young age is equally as important to us.
What are some entrepreneurship lessons you've learned, whether it's through the foundation or just really watching your parents the last 30 years of the HVAC business, that have been very impactful?
Stay patient and don't get frustrated, which is hard to do, especially when you have big goals and dreams. But I look back to when COVID hit, that's when I graduated. So we had a lot of momentum down here. I moved back to New York and really didn't know what the next steps were. Tough time to step into the working world, especially the aspirations I had to really grow this. And, we would collect 5,000 toys a year on Long Island and give them out at toy parties, and the hospital said, nope, not taking any more toys. So, it was a frustrating time, but then we said, all right, well, how can we use this as a good thing? Mm-hmm. And what we realized was all these places that we give to said, we're not stopped taking that gift bag. So what do you mean? You won't take any of the toys, disease control, everything? We don't care. Anxiety is heightened more than ever in a hospital setting. That is proven to make anxiety less. So we said, what if we really just hone in on this as our main volunteer program and our main giving program? And it's really just taken off the last 6 years. So
Doesn't make any sense. No toys, but you can do a gift bag.
well, the toys, you think about, you know, Barbie doll, you got to wait for a specific kid to come in to give that to, that's going to like Barbie and be a certain age. And then the bigger, bulkier stores, they got to store them.
Yeah.
Our gift bags, say they're going to see 1,000 kids a month. We'll give them 1,000 gift bags. Boom, 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 boom. And they're ready for more. So
And what's in a typical gift bag?
coloring book, crayon, stuffed animal, Pop-It toy, and handmade inspiration cards, which actually get sent in from all over the world, from kids. That's really the special touch, and that not someone just made this for you, but took the time to write you a little inspirational note. You know, you got this, and
It's personalized.
all those
and everything.
different things. You know, have that personal touch to it. It's you know, key part of who we are. We're not packing bags in New York and shipping them to Florida. It's, hey, someone in your community did this.
What are your future like aspirations, whether it's this year, next year, 5 years, 10 years? Any goals that you have in your head that you've written down?
You know, we're really trying to get to that level where we can breathe, if you will, you know, say, all right, great. You know, there's a lot of different, we talked about it a little bit, there's a lot of different ways to fundraise, and we were fundraising a totally different way a few years ago to what we're trying to do now. And what we're trying to do now is how those larger nonprofits grow, where they're bringing in 10, 20, $30 million a year from X amount of donors. And you can really have your set impact, and then the organic growth from that is really just multiplied. So
That's from the higher net worth events. Is that what your plan is?
events, individuals, funding opportunities, and just about getting in front of the right people.
And then what's been like, have you had any higher net worth large events in the past?
No, but we're planning one for this summer.
Cool. Here or New York?
We're doing it in the Hamptons.
Okay, yeah.
So
Makes sense.
we are looking to do a wine, women, and shoes fundraiser, which they do one here in Tampa.
Wine, women, and shoes?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I don't know if I'll fit that profile.
I just went to the one in West Palm Beach, and there was 700 people there, and I was one of maybe 100 men.
So you could have your wine and you can shop for shoes?
Fashion, all that jazz. And it was a fun daytime event. So trying to do it this summer to really get things to the next level.
And what would be a goal of amount raised on that event?
$1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Oh, yeah.
I got faith in you.
Oh, yeah.
With the podcast being on Successful DNA, let's end with this question. With, you know, whether it's your parents or your board of directors or yourselves or any of the people around you that have been successful and built successful nonprofits and successful companies, what are like maybe 2 or 3 non-negotiables that you think are required to have that success?
From a entrepreneur standpoint or just a business standpoint?
I would say like a DNA standpoint, like what's inside of people, you know, that have made them successful.
Well, what's cool about the nonprofit sector is we really only attract people or let people into our circle if their head and their hearts are the right place. So when I say that, you know, we're going to ask someone to join our board or be more involved if they're really caring about our mission first, not just, hey, I'm here to, you know, promote myself or promote my business, things like that. So making sure everyone's aligned and, hey, we're here to advance the mission. One person at a time, one thing at a time, and then all those good things from business and personal relationships will come because you only have good people around you. So that's the first part of it, and the second part from internally is making sure, especially people who have, you know, big roles on our team or on our board, they have that passion and that sort of self-motor drive, because I can't do it all. And I can't sit around babysitting people all day long. So really having that self-motivating drive to keep advancing our mission. And then at the end of the day, just like any business, it's a process, right? You know, I've talked to a lot of nonprofits that are on that big scale, and some of the CEOs even come from like an engineering background and really having those systems and processes in place, which they evolve and change a lot, especially on your approach to things or how you fundraise and whatnot, but having a process and sticking to it and continuing to tweak it, you know, to grow.
And then you just mentioned it, the mission. What is the mission of the Little Saint Nick Foundation?
Kids inspiring and helping kids. That's our tagline. So to inspire as many kids and people and communities as we can to give back to children in crisis every day of the year. So as we're sitting here talking right now, we have students, kids volunteering, fundraising for us at the same time. Kids are receiving our programming, and it's cool to think about not just around the holidays or Christmas in July. You know, no one's thinking of donating to hospitals or mental health facilities right now, not with any holidays around us. But, the need is there all year round to have that anxiety relief, something I wish I had when I entered the hospital at 4 years old.
And then where can people find more information about the foundation and perhaps help?
Yeah, littlestnick.org. We got a bunch of videos, testimonials, example events, ways people can volunteer, ways people can support our events. We have on every social media channel as well, trying to show people our mission, right? If someone's going to give their time or their donations to us, we say, hey, here's where it's going to. And so, yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for your time, man. Love your heart. Love what you do for the world. Obviously, people like you are very special to our country and to our world. So thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you for having me and letting us talk about our mission, and super excited to see what can come of this. You never know.
Yes, sir.